Welcome back to Hypnosis Today, where we explore how people are using hypnosis to achieve remarkable things. If you have just joined us, I have as my second guest Sandra Contrula, and she is an honors grad of HMI College of Hypnotherapy. She also has her master's degree in counseling psychology from Argosy University, right here in Los Angeles, California. And she has with her her very special guest, Lena Marie, who came in to visit Sandra for self-esteem. Please help me welcome my guests. Well, Lena Marie, let me start with you. Tell me, what was going on that you wanted to see a little bit of a change?
Well, I really went in to speak with Sandra because I'm a chef, and as a chef, you're your own business pretty much. And having to deal with customers or clientele that tend to be very strong-willed or assertive or just bullies, and it was really rough. And then having to stand in your own power. And what I noticed is that the more people would yell or raise their voice, the more I would actually back off. I would just shrink almost. And I didn't like that about myself. It was like, if I'm going to be successful, how can I be successful with this holding me back? And I had met Sandra many times before, and just her strength, the way she carried herself, and her confidence. Only to find out later in one of the meetings that I met her in, I re-met her and re-met her, but in this one meeting I met her, she was talking about hypnosis. Now, I have to be honest, I was very skeptical because I used to be married to a bully, and he tried hypnosis, and it never worked.
For himself or
yes,
for you?
For himself. And it never worked. So I was like, well, But looking at her, and every time I would meet her, and seeing it was a different person, very confident and very secure in herself, and just a force, and a force that wasn't intimidating.
Absolutely.
Right?
And not every hypnotist is for every client, and not every person who goes in for hypnosis is really committed to doing, well, at least 50% of the work.
And that's what I realized about that. I really saw that in my session, I want to say hypnosis, is that one of the things that you really can get out of hypnosis is you have to trust that person, and you have to trust yourself, that you're doing the best for yourself, that it is a good thing, and that there's no mystery behind it. Because sometimes people think hypnosis is always so mysterious. It's not. It's very to the point, and it's a very safe place if you can trust it and if you can trust yourself.
That's beautiful.
And
I agree.
And it was so crazy because when we were going through the session of hypnosis, I'm not joking. I once I was out of the session, and as soon as I went back to work and I had to deal with things and I had someone talking really hard, well, I need this on this. I go, first of all, it's unacceptable for you to speak to me like that. In other words, I didn't, a lot of times people think that in order to be strong, you have to be loud, and you don't.
Absolutely.
But to be firm and
you have
confident.
To be firm and confident and project it.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me. Talk to me about using hypnosis for self-esteem. What can you teach us today?
Well, when I have a client, some of them don't even know that's what it is, but through the conversation and through words they use, keywords, I know that it is a self-esteem issue. And when it has to deal with self-esteem, I know what I like to do is go to the core. And what I mean by going to the core is going to what, the Capasonian in the theory of mind talks about, going to the childhood. Because at some point in their life, I feel that something that happened in their inner child is still running the boat and running and protecting their life now as an adult.
So I want to ask you again, Lena, was this something started when you started your own business, or was this feeling of not being able to speak up for yourself something that has a long history?
That was definitely a long history. Definitely a long history. And one thing that Sandra does know, because we did talk about it, is that when I was a child, I had a severe stuttering problem, and with that, having to go into that type of therapy, speech therapy, and then and people making fun of you as a kid, and you know all that stuff, even though you grow up to be confident, so to speak, you still have so much more to go, because there's a part of you that really has trying to protect the most vulnerable place,
which is the childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yet, as she was saying, there comes a point where the adult inside of you goes, I'm going to take care of you. You're going to be okay. You don't need to run the business anymore.
And that's what I use, that technique.
And that's what she did, and it was pretty phenomenal, because even when I spoke to my very overbearing mother at the time, I mean, my mother's a wonderful person, do not get me wrong. It's just that with mothers, sometimes we tend to be a little overbearing. I have a son, so I can speak, I can say that. And also, my ex-husband was very overbearing, very strong. And
there's those common denominators,
exactly,
with your voice, and other people with louder, stronger voices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick up on something you said, and you were right there when you talked about taking the experience from the child and bringing in the best wisdom of the adult. Can you teach us a technique on how we can do this?
Yes, one of the techniques I use, and I really love it, it's very powerful, is having the adult meet the child. So what I did is I had her visualize herself as a child in a playground. And then I would have the adult come see the child in the playground and start recognizing the feelings the child was having at the time, the happy times. And then I had the adult meet the child and let the child know, which is the inner child, know that they love the inner child, and hug the inner child, and whatever the little child was missing, I have them have that conversation and connect. And then as soon as that meeting is connected with the adult child and the inner child, we let the little child know that they're always protected, they're always able to say what they need to say, and they're always going to have love. And love is really another core that I use. So I bring in a lot of love, and you can tell on the client's emotions when they're going through it, like how powerful it is.
Was this emotional for you to have the wisest part of your adult self talk to that little child, that inner child, who didn't know that things were ever going to be any different?
Well, it's really fascinating, because when I was under hypnosis, one of the things she said to me, she goes, "You were always smiling. You were always really happy." And but when I really noticed it is when I had to stand up for myself, and it was so quick that where I really saw when it worked, the hypnosis worked, is when I was in that situation, and something inside of me, which I'm going to say my core, said, "You're okay. You're fine. You don't have to be scared anymore." And then having to face that situation and going, I think it would be best if you didn't raise your voice. I don't do well with people raising their voices at me. And that person, and then for me to say, and I'm doing the best I can. Now, if you want to have another chef do this for you, I would suggest. But if not, I'm just doing the best I can, and are you happy? Yes. Well, then there's no reason for you to raise your voice. I would have never said that before, because all you want to do is please your client. But to have the confidence to say, no, I'm doing my best, and I'm doing my best, and you really like it. You're just wanting to keep me in tow, keep me, in check. And the truth is, you don't have to, and I don't have to take it. I was shocked.
Shocking.
I was shocked.
Has this changed your life, and especially changed your feeling about yourself and your voice?
Well, I'm now working for one of the top catering companies in Los Angeles. I'm a private chef for a couple of well-known celebrities, and it's so funny because I didn't push it. People said, "I've heard your, I've seen your work, or I've heard about you. I would love for you to work for us or work for me." And I would say, "Well, let me think about it." Like even then, I didn't feel like, "Oh, okay." It was like, like the little child in me, like, "Just do it." It was like, you're okay. We have to think about this, And for me to say, "I'll come back with an answer. Just give me some time to think about it, if I can fit it in my schedule." And it's amazing. It's amazing because as soon as I went through my hypnotherapy, it was almost like the level of work that I was getting just heightened to a higher level, as far as with clientele, with the pay, with the hours, and even to the point where I was able to pick and choose and not feel that sense of need. Does that make any sense?
You let go of the urgency,
yes.
You let go of the want because you were in the having. I'm going to ask you a really strange question. Mm-hmm. You know how in the past, after you came in and had your hypnotherapy, you were able to use your voice to say, it is not okay that you talk to me that way. Mm-hmm. When you got that shot of self-esteem through mastery, with these new people that you're working for, or working with, that you never worked with before, do they raise your voice to you, or do they know intuitively that that's not okay?
That's exactly. They know intuitively. It's as if my energy also shifted, where it's not.
Absolutely.
They sense that too.
And that's one of the things I always get feedback on with my clients is how their energy has shifted.
Yeah.
They're like, something's shifted, it's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. And even people look at me differently.
Mm-hmm.
Or they said that they feel differently around me. So I'm able to go to, I think going to the core mm-hmm. really makes such a big difference. And just that love of the subconscious, knowing that it is loved.
You know, Lena Marie, what would you say to someone who is skeptical because that person heard of someone else who had a bad experience with a hypnotist, or they're skeptical because they knew someone who saw a hypnotherapist and didn't get a good result? What would you say to that person?
I would say first, trust your instincts, because what people say, you know, when you meet people and they go, oh, I tried a hypnotherapist, oh, it didn't work, oh, you know, you know in your heart, in your gut, and you also know by how they're saying it, really, if really they were really even open to it. That's the truth. And also, when you find a hypnotherapist, how they speak to you. Because one of the things I noticed about Sandra is, as confident and as strong as she is, her presence, every time she speaks to me, I never have this sense of anxiousness when she would speak to me as far as like raising up the voice or anything, because it never was that way. It was always calm. And that speaks volumes to, I think, to a lot of people. A lot of people want to be spoken to kindly.
Kindly, strong, but kind.
Mm-hmm.
Give us one of your best post-hypnotic suggestions for someone who wants that self-esteem.
One of my favorite one is, every day when you wake up in the morning and you see yourself in the mirror, you're reminded about how much you love yourself, and you feel an increase by 10 every day in every way.
I love that, and that's an affirmation we can use in and out of hypnosis.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure I get this right. I know everyone's going to want to learn more about your unique way of doing hypnotherapy. Strong, confident, and so very, very kind. And you can reach Sandra Contrula at hmigrads.com. It appears we're out of time for today. I want to thank Sandra, and I want to thank Lena Marie for coming in and sharing your wonderful, interesting, and very inspiring experiences. I want to thank everybody in our studio audience and those of you at home for watching the show. My name is Lisa Mackenberg, and I hope you'll join us next time when we meet more people and explore how they are using hypnosis today. Please stay tuned. We have a lot more coming up for you on Hypnosis TV.
I had met Sandra many times before, and just her strength, the way she carried herself, and her confidence, only to find out later in one of the meetings that I met her in, I re-met her, but in this one meeting I met her, she was talking about hypnosis. Now, I have to be honest, I was very skeptical because...
Well, Lena Marie, let me start with you. Tell me, what was going on that you wanted to see a little bit of a change?
Well, I really went in to speak with Sandra because I'm a chef, and as a chef, you're your own business pretty much. And having to deal with customers or clientele that tend to be very strong-willed or assertive or just bullies.
Sandra Contrula, and she is an honors grad of HMI College of Hypnotherapy. She also has her master's degree in counseling psychology from Argosy University, right here in Los Angeles, California. And she has with her her very special guest, Lena Marie, who came in to visit Sandra for self-esteem. Please help me welcome my guest. Welcome back to Hypnosis Today, where we explore how people are using hypnosis to achieve remarkable things. If you have just joined us, I have as my second guest.
And it was really rough, and then having to stand in your own power. And what I noticed is that the more people would yell or raise their voice, the more I would actually back off. I would just shrink almost. And I didn't like that about myself. It was like, if I'm going to be successful, how can I be successful with this holding me back? And